We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
You're either in or you're out. Right now.
I want to gamble.
I never want to hear those words out of your mouth again.
Gambling is not your problem.
Has anybody ever told you before you're bad luck?
Most gamblers, when they go to gamble, they go to win.
Those were my mother's dying words.
When we go to gamble, we go to lose. Show me the money.
Get out of here, man.
Super Wild Card Weekend is here. NFL playoffs. Boys, this is one of the best weekends of the year, right? I mean, just constant football on for a day and a half, and all of our teams are in it. We'll throw it over to Derek first. How you feeling?
Feeling
Playoff
good.
football.
Yeah, excited. I still don't love the Monday game, but I love having 6 games in the weekend, so I'll take it any way I can get it.
Absolutely. And then Marcus just couldn't get enough of 7. Gonna go see him in Kansas City. How about that?
Yeah, pretty stoked. We'll do a quick shout out. Thank you, Tampa Bay Bucks, and thank you, Eagles fans, for way overpaying for tickets to help give us a free trip to go see my guys.
Yep. Speaking of kudos, I think we got to throw a kudos out to the betting champion. Derek kicked all of our asses this year. Derek ended up with a 50-40 record, which doesn't seem good, guys, unless you know we're betting the spread and we're betting the toughest games of the year.
Yeah, I'm just give you one of these.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, major kudos to Derek. But guys, let's not waste. Nobody wants to hear us talk about how we did. We want to talk about the games. Let's jump into a sneaky good game, I think, in this early slate. The Raiders traveling to Cincinnati. Cincinnati, 6-point favorites, over under 48.5. Marcus and I are on Vegas. Derek is on Cincinnati. Marcus, break down this game for us.
Well, this one's tough. So maybe the Raiders are a team of destiny. Like, you can't overlook what they've done all season, like what they've overcome. It's been ridiculous, right? They've continued to just find ways to either lose bad or win ridiculous games. What a great finish. And also, thank you, Raiders. First time these two teams played in Vegas. Remember, Cincinnati ass stomped them 32-13. It's actually going to be a similar story we're going to talk about later on. But that was their third game after the whole Gruden firing. They got beat by the Chiefs, blown out by the Chiefs, blown out by the Giants, blown out by Cincinnati. For me, the kind of story no one really talks about is like the defensive front of the Raiders. Like, their biggest stories were Clelin Ferrell, drafted first round, 4th overall. Carl Nassib, we all know the story, but like, they're both backups. Ngakoue, 10 sacks this year, solid. Max Crosby, what a stud he is. Just a high motor.
Yeah.
He's got 8 sacks this year, but 25 over his 3 years. Not bad for a 4th round pick. This game, it's going to be kind of a trench game, but I'm expecting a lot of points. Waller could be your X factor here. I kind of like him for a first touchdown, a good payout.
There we go. We go.
7 for 116 last time they played. He has to step up. Obviously, he's kind of just getting back into things, but he needs to help take the pressure off of the unit, Hunter Renfrow, if the Raiders want to make some noise. But I love the Raiders to cover.
Raiders aren't just going to cover, Marcus. I love the dogs today. It's a little bit of a spoiler for the next game, but I like the Raiders to win straight up. They won a tough game. They've been playing in the playoffs for 3 weeks now, right? They had to win in Indy. They had to win against the Chargers. They're ready to play, right? The Bengals, they haven't had much. I mean, they came out and they whooped the Chiefs. That was a very impressive performance, but the Bengals have never done it. They haven't had to be on point for as long as the Raiders have. And I really do think the line of scrimmage makes the difference here. And I like the Raiders D-line against the Bengals O-line that's overperformed, but still doesn't have the horses. I really think to contain those 4 pass rushers. So give me the Raiders and give me the over. I think there is going to be a lot of points. I think this is going to be a fireworks game. But I do want to say the caveat, the betting champion did take the Bengals. So just take that for what it's worth. take that for what it's worth.
So, Derek,
Yeah.
tell us why you agree with AJ here.
So for me, I just think it's a matter of that the Raiders don't have the personnel to slow down this Bengals offense. I think eventually Burrow probably has a couple too many turnovers. I don't think they make the run here. But this is not the game they get tripped up. This is not the defense that trips them up. They have all the firepower from a wide receiver standpoint, and if they want to commit to trying to stop the passing game, Joe Mixon, who's been pretty healthy, he's got some time to recover. He hasn't really been involved the last month. Coming off that injury, he's going to be able to eat today. I just don't think they have the personnel to stop him.
Oh, don't you doubt Hunter Renfrow. I mean, this is a battle of two units.
I think the Raiders will score, but I just don't think they'll score.
Jamar Chase, Hunter Renfrow, they're both going to put on a show today. Marcus thinks Waller's going to show up. He's not my guy here. I like Hunter Renfrow. And maybe Edwards to make some plays. Waller's had a disappointing year, but regardless, this is going to be a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, and as far as another prop, I do like Waller over 5 catches, just to keep pace with their first meeting.
There we go. All right, let's go. So we all think this game's going to have a lot of fireworks. We think this game's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of scoring. Let's jump to the Saturday night slate where it's an under game. And it's a game it's going to be played in some frigid weather. We got Buffalo up to a 5-point favorite now. Both Derek and I are on New England. Marcus is on Buffalo, but teetering now that went from a 4 to 5 point game. And there's no one else better to break down this game than Derek Black. Tell us how the Pats are going to get it done.
Yeah, I think we're going to see them kind of return to that more physical formula. We're looking at a single-digit kickoff as far as temperature, anywhere between 4 and 0 degrees, depending on what weather service you look at.
Feels like negative.
It's going to be tough to throw the ball. It's going to be tough to catch the ball. I think this is going to be really about physical running game. And New England's going to have some stuff that they haven't shown. The first game, they didn't have to show any offense at all. They just handed the ball 48 times. Second game, pretty vanilla. I don't know if they saw the writing on the wall, didn't want to expose too much. I don't know what the case was there. They also put the brakes on Mac a little bit at the end of the season and wanted him to kind of manage a little more. I think they opened things up as much as they can this week. And Josh McDaniels is good for a couple trick plays. So
absolutely.
It depends. When do they get called? How are they handled? I definitely think New England covers here. I think it's kind of a field goal game either way.
Yeah, no, I mean, you just can't bet against Belichick in the playoffs, right? Sean McDermott, while I like him as a coach, this is a mismatch. This is a mismatch behind the headsets here for sure. One storyline that's getting way overblown, but I find it interesting is Josh Allen is not wearing sleeves. That tells me he's probably going to be doing a lot of running.
He's also taking Viagra, so thanks to Bart Scott.
Yeah, that was interesting advice. I'd rather not cover Viagra, but hey, if you want to sponsor us, I think we're open.
No shame.
So before we move on to the next game, Marcus, are you teetering on your pick? Are you sticking with Buffalo, or are you coming over to Derek and I side with the Pats?
I'm going to stick with it. Like I said earlier in our podcast earlier this week, not that they're going to blow them out, but I do believe it's good. They're going to get into position to have that last drive, whether it's 4 or 5 points. I think it'll be in the same 4, 5, 6 where it's a touchdown that's needed instead of a field goal. So I don't ever teeter. I stick to my guns.
There we go.
Obviously we got Josh Allen, so you have to be kind of maybe leaning 250, but he still threw the ball a ton. I do like him anytime touchdown because of the weather. So no sleeves, he's going to be running, pounded it in. I think there's really good value at plus 150. Yeah,
I don't think he gets to 250. I just don't think that's the kind of game we're getting to. But I'm all over him getting anytime touchdown. We'll get into it a little bit later in the touchdown parlay. I was really torn between Hurts and Josh Allen, but I like them both to find the end zone. Here's a running back that I really like, though, is Damian Harris. I really like him to find the end zone. He did it, twice in each of their matchups, I'm pretty sure. He found it at least twice in the Snow Bowl. Yeah. So I really like Damian Harris today. He seems to have the game that kind of fits how to exploit Buffalo. 55 yards seems really doable. If you guys are getting this prop bet, I'd hammer this. Absolutely.
Yeah, see, Damian Harris is also one of those guys that I love the underdog story, similar to like Jalen Hurts and a couple other players like overlooked. Bama stayed 5th year, like all the elite backs that he played with and kind of followed, never really even when he was productive, kind of got overlooked. He's kind of a perfect fit for New England. Can't help but root for that guy.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's move to the earlier game, the Nickelodeon game. And the one that I think is the worst matchup of the week, if we're being honest. Philly going into Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay 8.5-point favorite, over under 46. But as we were talking in the producers meeting here, what Philly does is run the ball really well. And what Tampa does is stop the run really well. This is strength on strength, and I think Tampa's strength is just better. I think Philly's going to have a really hard time scoring, and honestly, you can only slow down Tom Brady despite the weapons that are going to be out. I think Derek and I, again, both on Tampa Bay, Marcus on Philly. I don't know if he's fading us or he knows something we don't know. But Marcus, tell us how Philly is going to cover in this game, because I don't see it. I think this is the biggest margin, I think, in the entire weekend.
So considering I put my picks in first, I didn't fade nothing, nada, zip, milch, nada. Some things I like. Remember, they did cover 6 points last time, went for 2. Everyone bitched about things being rigged as far as covering spreads, even though they don't, do the analysis. So what I really do like is, Tampa stuffs the middle. Philly's not really like a pounded up the gut. They run in a variety of all kind of ways. Levante David coming back, JPP coming back, it's huge for Tampa. Like, let's not kid ourselves. By the way, JPP has never lost a playoff game. I'm hoping it quite isn't there. But one thing that we do have to remember, so Tampa in their last 5 games played Carolina twice, the Jets and Buffalo, giving up 120 yards a game, like in a couple big bursts. So the options are going to be there, but my favorite play in this, and that under keeps going down. It's down and down. Hammer the under, because we are getting a lot of rain. It's going to be very sloppy. It's going to be it's kind of great. It's perfect Florida football weather. Like, it's still going to be nasty, maybe not snow cold, but it's going to be like a grimy physical game where you're going to have to limit turnovers and make something happen. I am kind of expecting a Gronk back to the playoffs kind of day, though.
Lenny in, Rojo out. I don't know if that really kind of affects things, but I think it is notable that Rojo is out. So that means Vaughn will be the backup running back there if anything happens with Lenny in his first game out. And if it is a grinded out game and you have to start relying on Vaughn, that could be an issue. So that might be a storyline worth checking in. Marcus right now has the prop here, Gronk anytime touchdown. The weapons just aren't there right now in Tampa, right? So I think Gronk, this is why you sign the guy, to score in these games. So I like that bet. There's a tight end I like more. We'll get to it, but I like Gronk as well in this game. All right, let's go to what I think is probably the closest game. The game that I teetered back and forth the most with is San Francisco at Dallas. 2 teams that have looked really good, 2 teams that looked really bad. Same can be said for the quarterbacks under center here in this game. The first one we all are unanimous with. We're all on Dallas, which I was surprised to see. In our group chat, there was a lot of San Francisco love. I didn't see it. Neither did you two guys. Marcus, what are you seeing in this Dallas San Francisco game?
It's not the quarterback play. As someone who really watches everyone closely, everyone's super hyped right now about Dak Prescott throwing 5 touchdowns against Philly, but Philly didn't really give a shit. They didn't care. It's I'm not that impressed. It has to be consistency, but this is the biggest question, right? Who do you trust more? What quarterback? Who's going to show up? There's a lot of questions, a lot riding. Jimmy G could be gone if he stinks it up. But for me, the matchups that no one's talking about, it's fucking linebacker play, right? We have 2 potential all-pro type linebackers. I can't rave enough about Micah Parsons.
It's
Fred Warner's
perfect that there's sirens in the backgrounds with you talking defense. There's nothing better.
We fucking mash. We hit. But Fred Warner's fantastic, but Micah's just so versatile. So he has to be able to not only shut down George Kittle, contain Debo, contain everything, but he's capable. So in a coin flip game, because I absolutely can see this going either way, I'm taking Micah Parsons.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit more on top of that as well. San Francisco's really good at the run. Dallas isn't that good at the run. San Francisco really struggles in the pass. That's really how Dallas gets it going. Jimmy G is very prone to turnovers. Dallas lives on turnovers, right? So if you start looking at the strengths and weaknesses of this matchup, it really starts to kind of, lean over to the Dallas side. You have to really kind of find it. You have to dig it. You have to peel the onions back and back and back and back. But you finally get there in this pick'em game. Derek, any comments here on Dallas?
Yeah, I think when you talk about the quarterback play, and this is kind of one of the areas you can draw a divider. I think the floor, Dak's really had a disappointing year. Obviously, coming off that ankle injury, we don't know what else is going on. Doesn't look like himself. Him and Jimmy G probably have the same floor. They both have games where they can be absolute liabilities. But I think Dak has a much, much higher ceiling and a much higher likelihood of getting to that ceiling. Jimmy G's not going to go out and win you a game. He's just not. You just hope he doesn't lose you the game. You hope he makes enough plays, to play even with Dak. But I just don't think it happens this week, especially because I just think, like you said, this Cowboys defense has its holes. I think Diggs is a perfect example of kind of this Cowboys defense. They're going to give up yards. They're going to give up big plays, but they're also going to make big plays. So I think we're probably, 2-3 interceptions, some tip balls maybe. I think Deebo Samuel has an absolutely massive game, but I think that's about all they do offensively.
Do either of you guys have kind of nostalgia, a little bit of nostalgia, like seeing these two kind of like clash back again? Like this is.
Well, I was going to say
90s,
it's
right?
pretty. It's awesome seeing a game between a throwback '90s game between two fan bases who just love to talk about the '90s.
Yeah,
Young, Aikman. We grew up watching these playoff matchups, right on Sunday
Cowboys
night.
fans haven't left the '90s since.
Smart.
All right, let's jump to Sunday night game, and a game Marcus will be there to see in person. Pittsburgh at Kansas City, the largest line in Wild Card Weekend in history of gambling lines. This is the biggest spread ever. Yet we're all on Pittsburgh. Why? Because we're smart. But also, Marcus, break down this game and some storylines you see this playing out.
Well, first off, is this the biggest storyline? Juju's activated, right? So it's
the newest. It's the newest, and it might be the biggest. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they have a stable of running backs. That's really not big. I think what's bigger, personally, is Najee Harris is 100%. He's completely off the injury report.
Well, yeah, we already knew that. So before I dig into why, I want to pose a quick question to you guys. Now, Derek, pull this one up for me. So Juju's coming back. So which which person is going to have the most TikTok views this weekend? Will it be Juju?
No.
Or will it be
It's gonna be Mahomes because he has the advantage of having the extra 4 hours to post during the game.
Smart. And if you guys just want to take a deep look, I definitely didn't crop him to have no dick. But anyway, so this line has been very interesting. So it started at 12.5. It got down to 11. Now it's back up to 13. So we don't know which way to go. What we do know about the playoffs is once you're in the show, anything can happen, all that good stuff. But what's favorable here for the Steelers. Now, remember, we kind of talked about Cincinnati and Vegas getting mopped earlier in the year. Kansas City literally wiped their ass cheeks right up in that crevice with Pittsburgh earlier this year. Like, there's just no escaping that. Obviously, that's a factor. We all know all the factors. We know that. But what I do love is Friday night, 40 and raining in Kansas City. They're getting hammered with snow right now. It's going to be 35. It's going to be ugly conditions, which kind of benefits Pittsburgh and what they want to do. I still love the under. Under's the play here. You have to have ball control. The best way to beat Mahomes is the same way you beat Brady. Keep him off the field. You have to control the ball. You have to get creative. You have to keep that clock churning and wear down that defense. Obviously, we know about bench Chad. He gives a shit. But Travis Kelce didn't even play in that game. He's coming back. He's a monster. But what I do know is he didn't win Dancing with the Stars. Hines Ward did. One up Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is going to go in. Would love to see a win. My heart tells me yes, obviously, but I'm not going to bet them unless for wild stuff. But I love a cover here, and for fun plays, you buy them to 14.5. You should be more than solid.
Yeah, no, I do think this is probably a close game for the majority, and then I think maybe a late touchdown gets this up to a 10, maybe 12-point game. I do think this is going to be a lot closer. I think the weather conditions. And Marcus, what have I called Patty Mahomes all year?
A turnover machine.
And that's exactly what it's been. If the Steelers want any shot, they need to turn over Mahomes at least twice. 3 times is kind of the big number, but they need at least 2 turnovers from Mahomes and 0 from Big Ben. The Steelers need a goose egg on the turnover. They need to be +2 or +3 to have any shot in this game.
And Derek, before I pass this on to you, the best way that happens, obviously we know TJ Watt, but it also comes with the rest of the front. But what that front allows is the unheralded. He doesn't get the love and respect that he deserves this year. He's a free safety. He's leading a team in tackles, which you're not supposed to do. But he hasn't bitched, complained. He's getting it done. So my over-under here, guys, is over 1.5 forced fumbles, tips to flip. Will Minkah be in on more than 1 turnover? Because we know that's what they need. What do you guys think?
Man, I love it. He hasn't really kind of had the ball luck that he's had in previous. So, I mean, you would think he's due for some tip ball luck. So I hope he's definitely a guy that can do it. But sadly, I don't think Mahomes turns the ball over 2 or 3 times. I think he's very sharp. I think playoff Mahomes is a little more concentrated than regular season Mahomes. So I'm not going to take this defensive prop, even though, Marcus, I love a good defensive prop.
And where are you at on this one, Derek?
I mean, we talk about, obviously Brandon loves to fall victim to a logical confirmation bias fallacy, likes to see, reinforcement of these misconceptions he has. Caused Patrick Mahomes a turnover machine. Only 13 interceptions this year, less than 1 per game. You thinks you need to do 2 per game. 3-to-1 touchdown ratio. Yes, the worst season of his career as far as touchdown to interception ratio, but 3-to-1 is still a really strong ratio. I think he takes care of the ball. I think they make the safe plays. I don't know that Pittsburgh has an answer for Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. I'm positive they don't have an answer for Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So one of those 2 guys is going to eat. I mean, there's no way around it. But this is still the fucking NFL. The Steelers are still a very veteran team. I don't see them getting beat by 2 touchdowns. Like, I just don't see the 13 points. They lose, but I think it's going to be close.
Yep. I think we're all on that side. Let's get to the weird Monday night Super Wild Card Weekend game with the NFC West teams, the Cardinals. Going to LA. It's the battle of Cliff versus McVay. Derek, what do you see?
This one's tough. I think that the Rams are an up and down team. They've looked unbeatable some weeks. They've looked absolutely out of sorts other weeks. McVay, for all the hype and praise he does get, is deservingly a really talented coach. Hasn't really had a ton of success in the playoffs. I think he needs to get a couple more wins under his belt. But I still prefer him to Cliff. Obviously, there's not too many coaches I wouldn't take over Cliff. But for me, it really comes down to, and anytime we talk about the Rams, I talk about Aaron Donald. I think this is a especially difficult game and especially important to get Aaron Donald going, because if you push the middle of that offensive line back into Kyler's lap, he literally can't see over it. And it's not even like a joking, like, haha, he's short. No, he just literally can't see over his guards and centers if they're in his lap. So I think that's really how they disrupt the offense and keep it off schedule. Jalen Ramsey's going to be lining up against, I don't know. They don't really have a clear number 1, so I don't think he follows anybody necessarily. But I guarantee whatever half of the field he's on shut down. It's going to be tough on Kyler.
There's actually 2 players that are kind of interesting, right? Cam Akers comes back. J.J. Watt comes back. Kind of cool. We don't know how either one's going to perform. But obviously having JJ kind of takes pressure off the defense. We've seen, things change throughout the year, but the real question is, like, who has most pressure for this game for you guys? So everyone's only talking 2 options, Kyler and Matt Stafford. But there's three people that should actually have a lot on their shoulders. You have Kyler, Stafford, and Cliff, because there's still questions right there. So who for you guys is actually under the most pressure? Like there's an argument for all three directions. Like there's a valid argument for all three. Yeah. For me, it's Matt Stafford.
He was brought in to do that, right? Like it's 100% Stafford. I think Kyler's, still young enough to say, I don't think the pressures are really there for him. I mean, I think Cliff's playing with house money, right? I think nobody expected this out of Cliff except maybe you, Marcus. So I don't think there's any pressure on Cliff. So I do think it's all on Stafford. He was brought in. All the Rams do is mortgage the future. But they're definitely in win now mode. So if they can't get out of wild card weekend, that is a massive disappointment.
I mean, I'm sorry, Jared Goff could have went 12-5 with this roster. I don't think Matt Stafford has done anything especially for what they gave up for him. I don't think he's moved the needle enough to warrant the draft capital. So if he comes in and doesn't win, was it really him, or was it really the Lions the whole time, or is he just kind of these gunslinger quarterbacks you can't rely on?
Maybe both.
we will find.
It was definitely the Lions, but it might have been Stafford too.
Yep. So, guys, I think this is going to be a great slate. I do have a parlay of the week. Unfortunately, we didn't get mine out there last week. I finally had an underdog parlay hit. None of you will believe me because none of you saw it, but Marcus saw it. So it exists somewhere. Mine this week isn't quite an underdog. The third leg isn't, but I like the Raiders, I like the Patriots, and I like Dallas. I like all three of them to win. I feel pretty good about that. Love it even more at about 14-1. And then some touchdown guys I like. We covered some. I like Jalen Hurts, mostly for the reason Marcus said. Marcus was spot on. If you can expose the Bucks, it's sideline to sideline. So one of those design sweeps, design bootlegs out on the sub 5 yard line. I like Hurts to find the end zone. Najee Harris is gonna have to have 30 touches just on a volume perspective. You gotta figure he's gonna be able to find an end zone against a defense that is susceptible to the running back. Derek brought up Jamar Chase. The Raiders really don't have a guy. Mullen isn't him. To really stop Chase. I think he could run wild. I definitely love him as the longest reception today. And then Marcus brought it up. The Steelers just don't have the inside linebackers. Schobert, Bush, Terrell Edmonds, really not an option to cover Kelsey. I think Kelsey finds the end zone too. This pays off at 24-1. These are anytime touchdowns because I'm not as sexy as Marcus and taking first tutties only. I go anytime touchdowns. But those are my two parlays, guys. The Raiders, the Patriots, the Cowboys, Jalen Hurts, Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, and Travis Kelce. Guys, this is an amazing slate. It's one of the best weekends of the year, and can't wait to talk about it more with you guys next week and during our podcast. Derek, best of luck to the Patriots. Marcus, safe travels. Talk to you guys later.
Go Steelers.